So today, 108 Degrees Digital Marketing is presenting the monthly marketing success workshop led by Marianne Pfeiffer. Marianne is a marketing professional passionate about helping her clients reach their goals. She's the founder and principal of 108 Degrees, a woman-owned and women-led agency with over 20 years of outstanding service to small businesses, nonprofits, and educational institutions. She is also a MailChimp Pro partner with over 25 years of experience in email marketing and the author of Precision Email: 7 Lessons in Engagement Strategy. Today, Marianne leads our session as your marketing strategist, helping answer the digital marketing and brand questions that will lead you to success.
Thanks, Lauren. All right. So today's workshop is a little bit different than what we usually do. Typically, what we do is we are sort of answering questions that have come in and trying to talk about different resources and things like that. But because we are in Q4, because we are starting to think about what's coming in 2025, and because I've never had a client who's been able to plan next year before next year starts, we thought maybe this time we'd run a workshop to sort of kickstart that 2025 planning process and get you a little bit ahead of the 8 ball. So today's goals for our workshop, there's a few different pieces to this. This isn't just about trends and tactics, because trends are great, but if you don't know how to use them, it doesn't matter that you're using them. So we want to get you started with some basics. And the very first basic is making sure that your branding and messaging are in place before you begin to plan, because no plan is going to be successful if your branding isn't solid. So we want to start you off with some pieces there. Then we want to talk about some foundational elements, the things that you need to make a great marketing plan that you can follow to success. Again, which tech stack you use and which channel you try and how much you spend on advertising. If you don't have a solid foundation to build off of, none of that matters. So we have to get you started off on the right foot. All right. We are going to spend some time talking a little bit about technology and some of the considerations for that. There is no marketing today that is not digital marketing. You might be running an ad in a newspaper, right? It's still being designed on a computer. You're still going to want to take that ad and multi-purpose it in other formats. So all marketing today is digital marketing. So you really, if you're using digital, need to understand what technologies. And we're not going to go into a deep dive on technologies today, but sort of briefly highlight what are the technology considerations you should have as you start to build your plan. And then finally, we're going to talk about some trends. There are a few big trends that are happening this year that are somewhat newer, and we want to make sure you're leveraging the most important ones. If you have questions about other trends, again, feel free to throw them in the chat, and we'll try to bring those up as Q&A later for this session or in another session. All right. So the first big piece to your marketing plan is your self-identification. Who are you? Can you, as an organization, understand who you are? And can you articulate that to your prospective clients? That's called a mission statement. It's also called a vision statement because it's who you are and who you're trying to be and what you're trying to do in the world. So you need to start there, because every piece of your messaging, every piece of your marketing should lead you back to that true statement. Who are we? What's our place in the world? What are our goals? Okay, so start there. That's part of your brand. As part of that, if you have never done one, do a SWOT analysis. When you get this, you'll get a link to, this is in blue because it's a link. Click on this, it'll take you to like an example of a SWOT analysis that you can use. So SWOT analysis, it stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Part of knowing who you are and part of knowing your place in the world is understanding the rest of the world around you. Understand what you're good at, understand where you're weak, know where you have opportunity for growth and to really serve your prospects and customers well. Understand the things that could potentially take you down. Pandemics aside, most of us can look at the outside world and go, wow, if that thing happens, right, my business could be in jeopardy. For example, at 108 Degrees, if all email marketing were suddenly to stop, our business wouldn't be in trouble. I don't think that's a problem. People have been saying email's dying since about 2002. 22 years later, I'm still doing it. So I don't consider that to be a threat. But what threats are there? Are there new platforms, new competitors? So understand and do a SWOT analysis. And if you can't do it yourself, and sometimes it's better to ask somebody sort of outside your organization to do that. Let them look at your competitors. Let them look at your landscape and see and tell you, these are the things I think you're great at. These are the places where you could be better. Here's where your competitors are. Here's where the industry is at. SWOT analysis is really important in identifying who you are, and what you're trying to be and where you're going to find success with your marketing plan. All right. The next piece is we need to set goals. So, the first thing to do is take a look at your metrics from last year. If you're brand new, you don't have this opportunity, right? But if you've had a business in the last year, take a look at your metrics from last year. See what you did and where you want to improve. So, things like website analytics: how many visitors did you get? How many checkouts did you get? What was the conversion rate on your e commerce? What was the average checkout basket total? Okay. Look at your social media stats, not just like followers. Followers is good, but really engagement stats, like how many people are liking and commenting and sharing and interacting with us. Think about your email list. Think about your subscriber growth and engagement. How many new subscribers did I add? How many do I lose? What's my attrition rate? Am I adding SMS or using SMS? And where did that land? What was the interaction? Can I measure success from what I did last year and use that to measure and set a goal for this year? Take a look at overall audience reach. That's everything. That's website, that's social, that's email, that's text, that's printed ads, that's physical events, that's human beings walking into your physical store. What is your overall reach? Who are you reaching? Okay. And how do you increase that number? That's what your plan is going to be about. I also want you to think about goals for new initiatives. So maybe last year you didn't have SMS. So that should be a goal for this year if that's what's in your market. Maybe it's a new social media channel. Maybe it's a new type of content you're creating. Maybe you never had a blog before. Maybe now's the time to have one and start creating some written search engine optimizable content that can be used to help your business grow. Think about new product launches. Are you going to launch a new product or a new service? Okay. Anything that will make you a little bit different and maybe a little bit more appealing than some of your competitors. Think about your expansion of your services. So maybe today you offer a certain level of customer service. Maybe in the future you could offer more service. So think about when you're setting your goals about how you should assess what you've done in the past and how you're going to grow in the future. Your marketing plan is nothing if you don't have a goal to reach. We want to measure where you are today, and then we want to, reach, to meet higher goals in the future. New markets is another one. Who is not currently your customer that could be your customer? If we go back to that SWOT analysis we talked about before, okay? Maybe there's somebody you're missing. Maybe there's somebody that your competitors are reaching that you're not talking to. Who are they? Where are they? Find them and put those into your goals. We understand who we are, and we understand some goals we're trying to reach. We're going to reach them by reaching different audiences. So what does that mean exactly? So existing targets, like who are your current customers? What industries are they in? So take a look at that and define where you are today based on last year's initiatives or just what you know about the market, okay? So that you understand who you're already talking to, who you already have access to. You need a plan to talk to the people who know you, and you need a plan to talk to the people who you're being introduced to for the very first time. All right. Then these new opportunities, who's your competitor talking to? Who do they target? And not every competitor is a direct competitor. Some competitors might be in a parallel industry, but who are they talking to? What are their audiences? And is there any residual you can scrape from that you could potentially be reaching? Also, their industries. Maybe you have a competitor that's reaching an industry you don't even talk to, and maybe you don't need to, but maybe you should. So think about and start to define these audiences so you can look at your goals. Because if our goal is growth and our goal is more reach, this is how we're getting there. We're either talking more and more frequently to the people who already know us so that we can build more interaction, or we're widening our market to bring in new people and new audiences to widen our reach. I strongly advise you create customer personas. And again, when you get this presentation, this blue link will take you to some examples of what personas are. Essentially, personas are an archetype that you create based on the typical customer. We have businesses, clients that we work with who have 5 personas. We have some that have 20. It really depends on your market and who you talk to and how granular you want to get. But what these do is they help you understand and personalize who you're talking to so that you can build a message that makes sense for them. So if you've never built a persona before, do some homework, dig into this, but try to create a buyer persona, a customer persona that helps you hone your messaging and target it as if you're having a one-to-one communication with someone. Understand that a lot of the communication today happens on the phone, especially email and text, right? That's coming in on your phone. That is a very personal space for people. You should not be yelling at them. You should not be talking to them like they are a number. You should be having a one-to-one conversation with them on their device. Okay. And even if you're writing a blog post or a web page or any type of content, it should be written as if you know who that reader is going to be and what they want to hear from you in the tone and voice they'd want to hear it. So build the customer persona, and that will help you develop better marketing materials. Okay. So now we get to the fun part, the strategy, kind of the fun part, also kind of the hard part. So first of all, strategy of what your offering is. As you look to make your 2025 plan, is what you sell or what you offer going to be different at all from the past year? You might have product improvements. You might have new features. You might have greater access points. You might have more opening hours, whatever it is. Understand and articulate that difference. That difference is part of your new and improved for next year. Everybody loves what's new and improved, right? Whenever we're working on marketing, we're like, what have you done lately? Because your customers, your existing customers, are your best source of next income. Okay. They're the lowest hanging fruit. They already know you. They already like you. They use your product or services. Okay. So what can you do for them in this coming year that you're not already doing for them, that they don't already know about, or that you've innovated? So think about your product or service strategy and how that strategy can then layer into your marketing plan. Now, how will you price things? Will you have special offers? So if you're offering new things, will you have a pricing strategy that aligns with that is a new offer for somebody who's existing, or is a special one-time offer for somebody that's new? So think about special offers, because again, as you work on your marketing plan and you start thinking about your channels and your advertising and your messages, what are you going to talk about? You don't want to talk about the same thing that you did last year over and over and over again. You want to have something new and fresh to add. What promotional methods are you going to test and use? So, and I say this as part of the strategy because you may have done something last year. Maybe you went to a trade show and you're like, oh, we did a trade show. We had a handout, we got all these leads. This was great. But, are you going to do that again next year? You're going to try something different. Think about strategically how you're positioning your company to be out there in the market and the things that you want to try, so you can work that into your overall plan. All right. So I am not going to hand you a bunch of budgeting spreadsheets. You can go Google marketing budget spreadsheet and you will get 10,000 results. Pick the one you like. Okay. It doesn't really matter as long as you budget. But here's the things I want you to think about for budgeting. Internal staff time. I have a lot of clients who are like, oh, I'll do that part myself. Now, if you want to do that part of marketing yourself because you like it, do it, right? Because it doesn't matter how much time you spend. If you're going to pay somebody on your team, your admin, your assistant, your junior, whatever, think about how long it might take them to do it and figure that in your budget. Because if you've got a body who's there for 40 hours a week and they currently have 40 hours of work to do, you're going to be paying overtime to have them do some of this stuff. So consider that as you're working out your budget. Maybe you should have them do it, but maybe you got to pull back other responsibilities so that they will have the time to do it, especially if it's not what they do all the time. Think about your vendors and agencies, okay? There are times when it makes sense to do things yourself. There are times when you have to outsource. There's this methodology, I can't remember who talks about it, but there's like a little pyramid, right? And at the bottom of the pyramid, it's like $5, $50, $500, $5,000, right? So there's $5 work that you don't even think about, like, of course I'm going to outsource that, right? The UPS pickups or whatever, right? Because that's just not worth anybody's time. And then there's like the $50 work, the stuff that like, well, it's, requires a little more skill, but as the business owner or the manager, probably not worth my time to do, worth for me to pay somebody to do that. That could be some admin work. That could be all kinds of things, right? Then there's the $500 work. This is the stuff where you're probably going to be drawn to because you're like, this is important. And it's hard to hand that off because it is important. But also when you look at the top of the pyramid at the $5,000 work, that's the client meetings, that's the sales presentations, that's the negotiating vendor contracts. Besides you as the vice president, the CMO, the manager, who else on your team can do that work? No one. Okay. So think about that pyramid and then think about internal staff time and vendors and agencies and where those should fit into your budget. Because you, as the owner, manager, team leader, okay, need to have time to do the $5,000 work, which means you've got to hand off the other stuff. Okay. So think about that as you're planning your budget. So you go, you know what? I am better off hiring a photographer to do those photo shoots because while I could do it and while I enjoy doing it, I know how much time it's going to take me to shoot and edit and this and that and the other thing. Okay. And I just need those photos for marketing. And the sooner I have them, the better my marketing will be. I need to hire a photographer. So think about that in your budget and really consider time as an important factor. Think about your advertising buys. If you go to Google and say, hey, Google, how much money should I spend on Google search? Google's going to say, all the money. Thank you. Okay. Google can spend all your money really fast. All right. But you want to set a reasonable, effective budget with room to grow. Because if things are working, you're happy to spend more money with Google. When Google's sending you leads or Facebook's shooting you leads, fantastic. Spend more money there so it can come back in. So think about your ad buy, not just in the initial spend amount, but also in how I want it to grow and what are those markers that I'm going to look for growth. Is it new leads coming in? Is it more sales on my website? Is it, more meetings, whatever it is? Think about what those markers would be. Something everyone forgets is their tech stack. Okay. You need to pay for subscriptions to things in order to do things. So whether that's an Adobe suite of creative products or a Canva or a MailChimp or Constant Contact or something like that, or, I'm going to send text messaging. How am I going to do that? Whatever initiatives you're going to take, social media is a big one. And people are like, oh, I can just schedule that. Well, you can. Have you done it? Have you used the Meta tools for scheduling? Let me tell you, those of us that do this all day, we don't use those tools for scheduling. We have professional software that we use, and there's some of it's very, very affordable. It's less than $10 a month. Okay. But that $10 is huge in terms of time savings for you. Okay. So when we think about the first one, internal staff time, I'm going to have my admin post every day on Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram and blah, and TikTok and blah, 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 blah. And that's 2 hours of her day. Okay. Or you can have her use 20 minutes because you're paying a $10 fee for a software subscription that allows her to just upload everything and schedule it. Budget for it. It's worth it. All right. Now let's talk about channels. What do I mean by channels? Channels are those places. Okay. So we've kind of talked about like the money that you're going to need to spend and the people that you're trying to talk to. Now, where are you talking to those people and spending that money? These are your channels. Okay. So understand constraints of time, of staffing, and budget. It's wonderful to say, well, I want to be on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram and LinkedIn and Facebook and X and blah, blah, blah. Fantastic. Who's doing that? And how much time is it going to take? How much is it going to cost you as a business? Maybe just Instagram is good to start. Okay. Or maybe you say, last year we did the Meta platform and we had Facebook and Instagram. This year we want to add on TikTok. Okay. So as we talked about looking and evaluating last year, if you look at last year, you say, hey, Instagram really did really well. But when I look at my personas, we really weren't reaching males between ages 18 and 24. You say, well, I'm probably going to have a harder time. They're on Instagram, but there's not as many of them and they're harder to reach and there's more competition. So advertising's more expensive. But if I'm on TikTok, there's a lot more of them and it'll be less expensive to reach them and that I can find them more easily with my content. This is where you start looking at channels based on those goals, based on those budgets, based on the time you have. What were your most effective channels last year? Okay. I'm going to say it. Nobody wants to say it. X isn't what it used to be. Okay. It's there. And if you're in the news sector, like, yeah, absolutely. Like people who were in journalism, absolutely use it a lot. If you're reaching journalists, X is really effective, but X had a big falling off in a lot of different markets. Threads tried to come up to catch up to that. It really hasn't caught on as well. Take a look and see what were your most effective channels last year. If you're new and this is the first time you're doing this, okay? Then look at your market, look at your industry, look at your competitors, look at their presence. Now, you can't tell necessarily from their presence if it's working for them, but you can kind of tell how much time they're spending on it, which is usually an indicator of how well it's working for them. All right. So think about and decide what your most effective channels would be. And I would rank them, right? I tell B2B businesses, listen, email, 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 right? Because I don't know in social media if somebody's going to open LinkedIn every day, but in B2B, I know they're opening their email. They have to use it, right? So I rank email very high as a channel, right? Your website should be your top channel, obviously. Like, please, if you're still using a Facebook page to run your business or an Instagram profile to run your business, it's time to grow up. Okay. You need a real website. Look at that data, connect it to Google Analytics, understand how it works. Okay. But rank your most effective channels. Okay. And as you start building your plan and you start looking at your budgets, you can then fit those channels in based on the priority of their importance and effectiveness for reaching your audience. Think about your purpose on each channel. Who am I trying to talk to? I'm trying to talk to males between 18 and 24. Probably not finding them on Facebook. Okay. What's my purpose? I want to introduce them to something, right? What tactics am I going to use? So I'll give you a little example here of how this works, but you want to think with every channel, what's my purpose on this channel? Who is the audience or the persona that I'm talking to? And what tactics are likely to work with them so that I can reach them effectively? For every channel, determine your metrics to measure. So just as we talked about looking at last year's metrics, right? Look at what your website analytics were, your number of visits and all of that. You want to look at every channel, understand what metrics to measure, or if it's a new channel for you, pick something you can understand. Pick engagement, pick something that means something to you, number of followers, number of views, whatever. And then measure that so that you have, especially for new channels, some level of measure for growth so you can kind of understand if it's working or if you should change things. For every channel you're going to work in, create a planning document. What does that look like? Name the channel. In this case, the example is Facebook. Talk about the purpose. What's my purpose for Facebook? My main purpose is going to be increased brand awareness. I know I'm not going to sell things on Facebook. I know I'm not going to get conversions on Facebook. I just want people to recognize my name so that when they see me somewhere else, it makes sense. Who are the audiences? I'm looking for new prospects. You could be looking for new prospects. You could be looking for existing customers. You could be looking for business partners, vendors, whatever, right? Who am I trying to talk to? What tactics am I going to use? So Facebook, you see a lot of video, you see a lot of paid ads. Those are two. So should you do organic? Sure. You should always do organic on any social channel you're on, but understand that organic reach is about 2% of your total follower audience on most platforms. Okay. So if you are looking at social media as a way to grow your business, you need to be looking at really effective advertising channels so that it can do the job. Okay. I love organic. It's just, remember we talked about budgets and time and staff? Okay. If you have 10,000 followers, that's fantastic. But if only 2% of them are seeing your posts, how much time and budget do you want to spend on organic posts as opposed to paid posts where you can put it in front of as many of them as you can afford to? What do I know? Just do this every day. All right. Metrics to measure. So when you're creating your planning document for each channel, think about those metrics we talked about. So for Facebook, engagement, click-through rate, cost per thousand if you're advertising. These are important metrics you can use to understand, is the platform working for me? Okay, do this for every channel. This is an important part of your marketing plan because it helps you assess next year if you want to continue or not. All right, we're running short on time, so let me talk quickly. I know I've already talked very fast. Tech stack. What are you currently using? Have a list. This is what I have. This is what I use it for. This is how much it costs me every month or every year. Now, what are your requirements to meet your plan goals? I have Canva. I can do a lot of things with Canva, but maybe not at the level I'd really love to. So here's an example. Do you have a CRM or a point of sale system, someplace to collect customer data? It's really important that you have a database of your customers. Do you have an email service provider? Are you using, for example, MailChimp? If you don't have an email service provider, you're going to need one. Figure out what that tech stack looks like. Some CRMs come with an email system with it. That's great. But if it doesn't, make sure you layer one in there. What about text messaging, SMS? You can't do this from your phone. It'd be really nice if you could, but believe me, it's unwieldy. You need a service that's going to do this for you, that's going to give permissions and all of that, right? What about social sharing? We talked about, the admin manually entering everything every day versus being able to schedule it. Social sharing software is important. Your website, assuming that you have one, does the tech need any kind of upgrade, any plugins, any additional subscriptions? These are all part of the tech stack. So understand, I'm going to be advertising on Google. I'm going to be sending people to a landing page to sign up and get something, right? And then I want to follow up with them. What pieces do I need? I need a website. I need Google Ads. I need landing page software, or my website needs to have the tech for landing page software. I need a POS to collect or a CRM to collect their data in so that I can then use it for the follow-up. I need SMS or email or something like that to follow up with them after the download. Those are all different pieces of your tech stack that need to work and to work together to be effective in your marketing plan. All right, very quickly, trends. So important trends coming for 2025, kind of some of them already here, really video. The reality is if you don't already use video, you need to. Why do you think we're doing this? Because this is how people like to learn. They like to learn by watching and listening and watching in little clips as well. So make sure you are using video in 2025 in whatever capacity makes sense for your industry and your business. Personalization. Don't be creepy. Don't be like, hey, Kelly, I saw that you bought a new sweater yesterday. That's creepy. Kelly doesn't want that. But to say, hey, Kelly, would you like 20% off your next sweater? Not creepy. Kelly shopped at your store. She knows she bought a sweater. But she doesn't want to be told that you know that. She just wants sort of that encouragement to come back again the next time she's looking for something. Okay? Personalization is important. It's a little different now since privacy laws have been in place, but you can still do it with the people who know you, okay? But don't do it in a way that's creepy. Content repurposing. So you're going to have a piece of video. That piece of video is not just good for one platform. It's good for every single platform where you can use video. So you can use it in Instagram, and then you can use it on TikTok, and then you can throw it on your YouTube channel, and then you can send an email out with a link to that video for people to see it. You can put it on your website. You can embed it on a page. You can use that piece of content a lot of ways, and you should. Okay. It takes time, energy, effort, and budget to make this content. Make sure your marketing plan includes repurposing of content, however and whenever possible. The last thing I want to talk about, the thing on everybody's mind, generative AI. Okay. It's not going to take your job. It's not going to take my job or anybody's job that's here. Okay. Generative AI is a tool. It is a tool that says, hey, Lauren, here's 5 different email subject lines. Which one do you think would be good for your audience? Okay. Don't let it write the email for you. Don't let it write the subject line for you. Let it suggest things to stimulate your brain to take the action. Okay. AI is great for user customer journeys, customer paths, right? Like what paths could my customer take? AI can generate for you, well, if they sign up by text and then take this action, this action, this action, this, you can lead them to checkout. Okay. But you know your customers and you know your products and your services and what appeals. So take that idea and modify it to what works for you. If you use exactly what AI spits out, you will get exactly the amount of effort you have put in. So, okay, on that note, I know we're close to time.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. If you'd like to learn more about how to take your marketing to the next level, check out our YouTube channel with recordings from our past workshops and other highlights.